As co-founder of Every Black Life Matters, it's very important that we address some of the issues that we've had to deal with over this past 7 or so days. We've had a very, very distressing week. In particular, our law enforcement officers. We here at Every Black Life Matters wants you as our supporters, our friends, our donors, wants you to understand that we stand with law enforcement officers across this country. We believe law enforcement are the very thin line. It's of course the thin blue line, but it's the very thin line that separates us from being a completely degraded society and a civil society. It's very, very important that we support law enforcement, because guess what? If we don't, the environments that would be mostly disproportionately targeted and harmed, and where we would see the most crime and abuse would be our Black and our brown communities. It's very important that we support law enforcement, and we here at Every Black Life Matters do support law enforcement. We understand that the other organization went out and actually tweeted that law enforcement officers are not heroes. We here at Every Black Life Matters stand firmly with the fact that law enforcement officers, wherever they are, when they put on that uniform, they have a target on their back, and yet they do it. They actually take their lives in their own hands because they go out publicly with a uniform, knowing that they're targeted in certain communities, and yet they step out. They step out. They're the first ones to go on the front lines and to try to secure our liberty and our security. So they are heroes. They are doing heroic actions around this country all the time. And we want you to know, as our friends, our supporters, that we stand affirmatively with law enforcement officers. We grieve with those families. Our law enforcement officers have been targeted for a number of years now. It's been horrible seeing the types of abuse, targeting, ambushes, slaughter, mercilessly slaughter of our law enforcement officers across the country. Every Black Life Matters. Even on if you have our apparel, if you have our shirts, you will know that there's a thin blue line. I don't know if you can see that, but there's a thin blue line there on purpose in our apparel, representative of our support for law enforcement. So we want you to know that we, while other organizations will stand against law enforcement, we, Every Black Life Matters, stands with law enforcement because we understand their significance. We can't say Every Black Life Matters while standing against law enforcement, while standing for defunding police, while standing for, no bail. That makes no sense. And so for those organizations that stand for that kind of lunacy, we as an organization stand against them and stand for law enforcement. We've drawn the line. Yes. Are there some law enforcement officers that need to be retrained, sorted out? Do we have all law enforcement officers, or are they all good? No, we have some bad apples in every profession. So certainly we're going to have some in law enforcement. Yes, we need to do something about those officers. But in general, we want you to get the sentiment that we stand with law enforcement. So law enforcement, in our opinion, are heroes. This whole thing about law enforcement being that there's propaganda, a term that this other organization and organizations like them use against law enforcement, is just horrible. So that's the first thing that I wanted to mention. The other thing that I wanted to mention is that in this past week, we've seen these funerals and we've seen these families grieving. And we just want you to know, as a support of ours, that we stand with those families. We grieve with you. And we are with those grieving families 100%. As we go into Black History Month, we're encouraging all of our supporters to continue to pray for America. We are at a tipping point. Make no mistake about it. And so it's going to take our concerted effort to stand with law enforcement, to stand for law enforcement, to stand for the Black community and refunding police within the Black community so we can see liberty and justice for all, so we can get back to a civil society. Because right now we're degraded to the point where in certain communities, we don't have a civil society. As hard as it is to acknowledge that fact, we are really fully degraded in some environments in our country. So let's continue to pray for America. We can do better. We will do better. And I'm hopeful that February will begin to turn around and we'll see a reinvigoration of America. So anyway, I wanted to just get this word out to you, that we stand with you. We stand for America. We stand with and we stand for law enforcement. God bless you and God bless America.